excited to have local author Scott Sparlin here. Supporting local authors is something we love to do as a library, and this is his first time speaking as an author in this kind of context, so be nice. Not that I'd expect anything else.
No heckling.
Right? But I'm going to go ahead and let Scott talk about his book and how he came up with the idea and anything else he'd like to discuss there, and maybe some time for questions at the end.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And music.
And
Yep.
yeah, don't give it away.
Yeah.
But all right, go ahead, Scott.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for everybody that braved the evening here. It came through the beautiful 75 degrees and sunshine. My name is Scott Sparlin, and I live at 810 3rd North. So everybody, I'm from NUPL.
Yes.
And this is my first time of doing this. And I wrote a book a couple of years ago, and it's a self-published book called The Legend of Jack Bunyan. And this inspiration came to me after thinking to myself, whatever came of Paul Bunyan, did he have a wife? Did he have any children? Did he have any family beyond just what he was? Because, he started Minnesota. Minnesota would not be Minnesota without Paul Bunyan. Paul Bunyan made our 10,000 lakes chasing Babe the Blue Ox through Minnesota in a hard rainfall. And that's what created all the lakes that we have in Minnesota. So I thought to myself, this sequence, there has to be more to it. And it just kept coming to me as I kept thinking about it. And I was overthinking, well, if there was a wife, there could be a son, maybe. Where would there be a wife? And lo and behold, I was driving through Hackensack, Minnesota. Hackensack, Minnesota has the Lady of the Lake, Lucette Kensack. And she is a giant just like Paul. And then it occurred to me after I did some research that yes, Paul did go around Minnesota and he was awful lonely. And he ran into this other person who was just the same size as him. And well, as the story goes, they dated and they liked each other and they liked the same stuff. And well, I'm just going to take an opportunity to read a little excerpt from the book to do that, okay? One day, Paul realized he had become a little lonely. While Paul liked Babe, he enjoyed spending time with her. He found himself looking for the companionship of someone more like himself. Amazingly, in his travels in another part of Minnesota, he chanced to meet a woman, Lucette Kensack. Paul was surprised that someone like himself was living in Minnesota and began to talk with her. And as they chatted, he discovered that they spoke the same logging language. Lucette told Paul that she had grown up in a logging camp and learned everything there was to know from the old loggers. The two of them really hit it off and became best friends. They fell in love and eventually married on the shores of Gitchigumi, Lake Superior. Of course, that would be the only lake that was big enough for the two of them to swim in. And Paul and Lucette stayed by the big lake for a while, but they longed for the deeper woods, so they decided to go back to Paul's old favorite area and settle close to what is now called the Big Cut near Northville, Minnesota. There, they could see the Lost 40 and the tall old trees that had never been logged. And I'll break from the story there. The Lost 40 is a place that is near where my Christmas tree farm is in northern Minnesota, 3 miles south of Northville, Minnesota. And the surveyors, when first going through the area, forgot where they were, and 40 acres never got surveyed. So it really doesn't even exist in the annals of the U.S. So, but it is to this day a virgin 40 acres of timber that's beautiful, and it was Paul and Lucetta's favorite place to go for picnics and hanging out. How about that? Now, Lucette was a bit younger than Paul and full of energy. Many of the poplar trees nearby had become very tall. Considering the trees and wanting to make Lucette happy, Paul decided to build a logging camp for her. Okay, he rounded up a bunch of young men with logging experience from nearby towns like Mizpah, Gimel, Margie, Elwood, Black Duck, and Hines, and contacted some older loggers who were semi-retired to build a big new logging camp. And that's kind of where things get started. So I got to thinking to myself, if they're together and they're in this place, there's got to be more than just logging, you know. There's got to be other things to think about. Well, one day they had the camp fully going, and Lucette was doing something in the camp. I believe, let's see, what were we doing? The loggers had eaten their breakfast, and they were cleaning up. And there was a bunch of ruckus out on the front. And there were some crows there. And these crows, a big flock of crows. And caw, caw, caw. She goes out to the front, opens the front door, and she looks down, and there's a basket there that looks like a giant bird's nest. And here's a little baby in there. Well, she looked down. She saw that the baby he had getting a little far ahead of myself here. Yeah, she saw the baby there, and it had a note pinned on it. Couldn't believe her eyes. And the note said, "Please take good care of this very smart little baby boy, and if you do, he will bring you good fortune." And Lucette took one look at the little boy and could not resist putting him in her arms and wrapping him and unwrapping him from the black fur which he was wrapped in. Much to her wonder, he was dressed in a red and black plaid wool shirt and pants with little boots that had a hat to match. She knew right away the little boy was special. He needed to be cared for by someone who understood the ways of the true Northwoods logger. Lucette knew it had to be her. So they took Jack in, and he began to grow and get bigger. And now the camp had some special people and some special stock in it. Now, you remember Babe the Blue Ox, of course. Well, their Babe, the Blue Ox, had a daughter. And that daughter's name was Bluebell. Blue Ox, Blue Baby. Not Blue Baby Syndrome, Blue Baby. Now, they were blue because of the blueberry bogs that grew all around the area. And so that's what they ate. No, they just loved to eat them. And they were so rich in nutrients. The milk from that blue cow made Jack grow. By the time he was 5 years old, he weighed 275 pounds and was 6'8". He could swing an axe just like the loggers. Jack's normal breakfast consisted of 20 dinner plate-sized flapjacks, 5 pounds of fatback, 2 dozen eggs, and a loaf of bread, and he washed it all down with 2 gallons of blue milk. Now, he learned a lot of things from the old loggers. This is one of my favorite parts. You know, years ago, they didn't have bug spray. You did the best you could. There were deer flies, and there was horse flies, and there was mosquitoes and gnats and all kinds. So the loggers chewed snooze. And when you chew snooze, the saliva gets real thick in there, and you got to spit every so often. And the loggers were learning how to spit and kill a fly and kill a mosquito. And they did that all the time, and that's where that all started. And Jack was able to spit so far and so hard that he could kill a deer fly or a mosquito at 10 feet away. Well, you know, all kids have to have a buddy. That's there's Jack, and there's his buddy, Bucky Blue. And Bucky was a 6-foot-tall beaver with red eyes and really sharp teeth that go really fast. And Jack, he was real good with his chainsaw, with his axe. Getting ahead of myself. He was really good with his axe, but he could never beat Bucky at taking down a tree. He'd get chopping, and they would have a competition doing this all the time. Every time Bucky would win, and it really got to him. And so Bucky could chew down a 4-foot popple tree in 3 minutes when he wanted to get a log for the dam. He was a highly intelligent beaver who had learned English from the old-time loggers years ago and understood everything Jack said to him. They would often laugh and tell jokes together that they had learned from the old lumberjacks around camp. They would always compete, though, to see who was the fastest at cutting down a tree. Jack was fast with his axe, but he could not keep up with Bucky's razor-sharp teeth, and they were extremely competitive. And Jack was a very energetic young man. He had a mechanical mind and was always looking for a better way to do things around the logging camp. It was on May 5th of 1907 that Lucette found Jack in the mess hall with the crows. The day was declared his birthday, and it was nearing that time at the camp. Okay? So they'd been hearing about some folks over in Wisconsin who were making bicycles with motors on them. Well, we got to get that for Jack for his birthday. That'll be something. So they were by the name, one was Harley and the other one was Davidson. And they had a shop where they were building these motorized bicycles. And they thought, the old loggers thought that, you know, Jack would really like something like that. So the gift arrived on Jack's birthday, and he got that, and boy, he was just off. He was going through the woods and everything. Bucky started getting a little bit upset that he could get so far so fast, and he was running and keeping up with them a little bit. So what Bucky would do when they would go to check on something, he'd be going down the trail or whatever, and Bucky'd go over there and he'd chew a tree down ahead of time, make Jack jump over it with the motorbike. Well, he cut down a pretty big tree one time, Bucky did. And that darn motorized bicycle got stuck right on the tree there. And of course, now what do? He's cranking on the motor like, and the chain was going around like that on the log. And pretty soon, that chain had cut right through the log. And he looked down and he looked at that and he thought for a minute, what happened? So that was the start. The light bulb went on, and Jack, at that time, became the true inventor of the chainsaw. Now my story continues, and it goes on, and I don't want to give the whole book away, but I've got you up to this point, and I hope people will take it from there and read and find out what happens and how it all comes to fruition in the end, and how his mom, Lucette, is a big part of this, and Jack becomes quite famous for inventing the chainsaw, and to this day, if you're by that area, you'll see some special stuff. That's all I'm going to say about that part of it, okay? So with that, I would take questions, and then I'm going to do a couple of songs after we talk a little bit. If you have any questions that you'd like to ask of me or want to know more about the book, I will tell everyone in the audience that if you go to jackbunyan.com, the book is available there. And, all of the ease of buying online and so on, so on, gets delivered. I do have books with me, and I can sign books today for anyone that wants to buy a book. And so with that, any questions? Yes?
Yes, I'm wondering, Maine and Vermont claim that that's the state that owns the legend of Paul Bunyan. But now, we have it for sure.
Absolutely.
Because there's nobody else where Paul has a son.
No.
So good for you.
Yay. Thank you. Yes. It's very Minnesotan.
Yes.
And it's true.
Yes.
It's a true story.
Absolutely. Exactly.
Yes.
Well, it's been a secret writer because that's
Yeah.
to come up with something like this that is so creative. I mean, your song, so you're a storyteller
Sure.
musically, but
Sure.
this just seems so.
Yeah, it does seem a little out of character, doesn't it? Yes. In most of my adult life, I've had to write pretty dry things, factual and those types of things. And my mother named me Emerson. My second name is Emerson, Scott Emerson. She hoped that I would someday become a writer. And so part of this is making Ma's dream a reality. So, but with that, I would say the ability to do it and so on is, I think it's in everybody. I think there's a song in everybody. I think there is the ability to express a person in everybody has the latent talent in them. It just takes the time to think and sit down and put it to it, really. But fictional stuff is unlimited. It really is, and it's so wonderful. It's such a great part of being alive. Yeah.
What is your process? Do you get up in the morning and set aside time to just write that, or do you just allow it? I would assume you also allow it to just come into your mind and then
Right.
do that also.
One thing that I've learned from writing songs, I've written hundreds of songs, and I have to work off of an idea, and then the creativity goes from the actual vision of what the end product is. I think of that. I trim Christmas trees, on my farm. Some people start at the bottom and work their way up. I always start at the crown and work my way down. And that is the idea part of it. That's the vision part. So once you have that in your head and you have the vision, you can build on the rest of it. That's the way just me personally. Now, this is a product of COVID. I was out of my ability to perform. I couldn't sing and play for a year and a half. And so I took the time to take this under my wing, because I'd had it in my brain for 4 or 5 years. And I said, just sit down and it'll come to you. And just like a song comes to you, it will come to you. And by George, it did one, and it's funny how stuff cascades off of an idea. One idea goes to another, and another one goes to another. Now with this thing here, the fun part is I'm trying to talk to the community about enshrining him as a statue at the community, and having a gift shop and a place to where you can come and do the whole tourist thing, but yet on the side you have a chainsaw museum that covers the whole history of chainsaws in the United States, how they got started, everything about that. So you have fun stuff over here, the fantasy world here, and you have the factual, hard-working 2 men. There's chainsaws that were from here to that chair away in length, going through trees that were huge years ago.
This up north?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And so that kind of covers what you were talking about. the cascading of those ideas is the same way the story came about. Once I come to a part of it, I'm going, oh, my, yes, that would cause this to happen. And so the dominoes all fell just right in my eye.
Which community? Bemidji or
Well, I have ran it by some Bemidji people about getting involved there, but I would like the original community to take it on, and I'm still working on that part of it. So I'm hoping that that will someday come to fruition there. Yes?
I'm all about voices, so I was just wondering, what does Bucky sound like? What does Jack sound like? And what does Paul
Well, from the
Bunyan
story,
sound like?
Bucky has his own dialect, and
Norwegian?
only Jack can talk to Bucky.
Oh, okay.
And Jack is the only one that can understand Bucky. So he has his own talk.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yep, and that's very, a
Tell us
very
about
fun thing. I think you have a question over here.
Yeah, as you were, getting your ideas down and writing them out, what was your editing process like?
I self-edited quite a bit. I went back over the story many times. I wordsmith very carefully on, because I wanted my expression to be the main part of it. I wanted it to be grammatically good and right, but I didn't want it to be compromised by what I felt was some colloquialisms that I used and some phrasing that might not be considered just right. So I discussed all those with my niece, who edited most of this book, or had a big hand in it, and as well as my sister as well. And my sister did all the illustrations, by the way, and she is so talented. This is her artwork here, and through the whole book, it's her artwork, and she is just a magnificent performer in her own rights, and artist as well. So.
What was her medium? Was she using colored pencils, or was she using a computer, or?
I never asked her.
Oh, okay.
I was
Just thrilled they were drawn.
I really liked it, and that's good, yeah. So, that part of it. So let's sing the two songs that I wrote about Bucky Blue and Jack. They're not, they're pretty folksy.
Are they published in the book at all?
No, they are not. And before I forget to mention, I do have a video, or an audio. I have an audio book in flash drives, and I have those with, and those are also available online. And the audio is done by Lee Weber, and Lee just was fantastic at it. He does the whole book, and it has music interludes in it, in between, and such. So it's really, really well done too. Let's see. We're going to start with the Legend of Jack Bunyan here. This is the story of the mighty lumberjack of northern Minnesota, near the only railroad track. He created the chainsaw to cut down trees like Paul. Paul Bunyan was his daddy, and Lucette was his ma. Now his best friend Bucky Beaver was big and he was blue, with big teeth that were razor sharp and bright red eyes too. Now he and Bucky Blue roamed among the trees, showing other loggers how to cut down trees with ease. Jack Bunyan, Jack Bunyan, Jack Bunyan was his name. The motorcycle chainsaw was his chain to fame. Now his mom, Lucette, she looked after Jack, handed him his bus, handed him his business next to the railroad track. She She handed him all his money, and she made him a big success. A chainsaw in his hands made him the best of the best. Jack Bunyan, Jack Bunyan, Jack Bunyan was his name. Motorcycle chainsaw was his claim to fame. Now all the loggers loved the saw that Jack had made for wood. They bought all their saws from him as fast as they all could. Now Jack is rich and the logs no more. He and Bucky play. They roam the forest planting trees each and every day. Jack Bunyan, Jack Bunyan, Jack Bunyan was his name. The motorcycle chainsaw was his claim to fame. Okay. Thank you. So here's one called Bucky Blue. It's about Bucky. And I'm already starting on another book about Bucky. It's Bucky's Big Adventure. He's going to come to southern Minnesota. And he's going to visit some of his cousins that are out there trying to put wetlands back. Make little lakes and put them on the landscape so the water maybe will be doing other things, well, better things. We'll see where that one goes. Bucky Blue, Bucky Blue, Bucky Blue, where are you? I suppose you're at a tree, about to take a big old chew. Eat some trees, but leave a few, 'cause Jack would like to cut some too. Bucky Blue, Bucky Blue, there ain't nothing he can't do. With his teeth so sharp and big, no one can top his chewing rig. He's the fastest in the land. Let's give Bucky Blue a hand. Bucky Blue with razor blue. What else can this feller do? He builds a dam, makes it lake for animals, a drink to take. He scouts for trees for Jack to cut, and never makes a single rut. Oh, Bucky Blue, oh Bucky Blue, Jack is looking out for you. Bucky Blue, oh Bucky Blue, who's gonna win the race? Oh Bucky Blue, Jack is looking out for you. Bucky Blue, oh Bucky Blue, who's gonna win the race? So that about ends the program that I have had, and want to thank you all for coming and sitting and listening and hearing about the legend of Jack Bunyan. Once again, my name is Scott Sparlin. I'm from NUPL, Minnesota. This is my first and only published book, and with that, I'll just leave it to everybody else and maybe help yourself to some great blueberry muffins and some other items of interest back there, and we'll see you later.
Those are treats from Gertie Goose and Herbie Hedgehog.
Yes, a treat from Gertie Goose and Herbie Hedgehog.
There you are.
Very, very nice. Thank you.
What do everybody think? Right?
Ooh.
Thank you very much, Scott, for coming and sharing about your book. Really appreciate it, and we'll hopefully have you back again sometime.
Okay, thank you.